Hi and welcome to this video. Chances are this is the first video of me that you see, so my name is Jordan and I've been living in Korea for half a year now, since March 2023. And this video will be a recap of the half year that I spent here, my adventures and experiences. I thought a lot about how to do this video. I first thought about doing it in the documentary style that I did for my other videos about Korea. But after calling my mom, she told me that it would be a good idea to show myself to the audience and speak honestly about my feelings and experiences here. So that's what I chose to do with this video. So why did I choose to stay in Korea? So in March 2023, I went on a vacation here. Actually, I had a job back home and I'm also self-employed. But I went on a vacation here and I toured around the country. That's what you'll see in my other videos. And in the last part of my trip, I stayed in Jeju Island, where I am right now. And I just liked it so much, the beautiful nature and the peaceful scenery on this island, that I found it very hard to go back home. And actually I wanted to stay here. This wasn't my first thought, because it's still like a foreign country and I have no experience in my life living anywhere else outside of Belgium. But when I went back to Seoul to actually go back home, I got in contact with Doobie-Doobap. She's a famous YouTuber and TikTok influencer who does cooking. And she was about to open a restaurant with her boyfriend. And we got in contact and we were talking about me shooting for the opening of their restaurant. So I saw that as an opportunity to quit my job and stay in Korea, right? I mean, they weren't gonna hire me, but I saw an opportunity to build a network here with them as a starting point. So together with my intention to stay in Korea, I made the decision to quit. So I went back home, packed my bags, and a few days later, I already came back to Korea. So during my trip in Jeju, I also made a friend. During the tea class, I met Hyoyoung. She was the tea master. And in just a very short while, we got very close to each other. We were talking all the time. And I look forward to going back to Jeju and, hanging out together, right? If you go to a foreign country without friends, it's very hard. But suddenly, if you have a few contacts there, it becomes much easier. So we already made a lot of plans to do fun stuff on Jeju and to, that I would maybe help out on the tea farm, right? I was really looking forward to that. And then I started packing my bags and I'm preparing to go back to Korea, to Jeju. But then, the morning I was gonna leave to Korea, she sent me a text message, like a really long text message, that she got a boyfriend and that they were officially together now and that she didn't find it appropriate to still be friends with me. And that was really disappointing because the only good friend I had in Jeju, suddenly she was gone, And I even packed a tin of Belgian cookies in my suitcase, like a really big box of Belgian chocolates that I was gonna bring for her. Well, either way, I still left to Korea, and then I tried contacting Doobie-Doobap again because I wanted to know if we were still gonna work together. And she ghosted me. I think the text message I sent her, she still didn't open it now after 4 or 5 months. So that opportunity was also gone. So by the time I arrived in Seoul, or when I was in Seoul, my whole plan disappeared. So I had to figure out what to do next. So aside from those opportunities that disappeared, I still love Korea a lot. I really like the culture and I really like the nature here on Jeju Island. So I was still enthusiastic and determined to go back to Jeju and once here figure out what I was gonna do with my time here. So I arrived in Jeju and I decided to stay in Guja, which is like an area in the northeast of the island. And there I rented a cabin in the middle of the farmlands. It was really nice, really peaceful. And there I spent, I think, the first month almost daily editing the videos I made during my vacation in Korea. Every day I was editing, and I was editing in my house. I went to cafes almost every day, like the coffee shops, and edited there while having a nice drink and a dessert. I also made friends with the ajishi, the uncle who owned the Airbnb or the house I was staying. He was a really sweet guy, but he didn't speak any English, so we always had to use like a translator to talk to each other. But he was a really chill guy. We talked a lot, we had lunch together a lot, and it was really nice to have him around. But back then I still didn't have like any friends on the island, and it was hard to meet people. Because Jeju Island is a really big island, it's not that small, and there's a lot of concentrated parts. Like there's the Jeju City, Sogipol City, and then little villages. But if you're in the middle of nowhere or in a village, there's really no life there, no activity there. And getting around is also very difficult. Like you cannot trust the buses really, you need a car to go around. So after a week or two, I realized that like shit, I'm really stuck here in this little area. So I rented a car and I started adventuring in my area and exploring. So I spent a lot of time hiking in the area. Actually, my friends back home, they suggested me some things, so they looked around my area on Google Maps and they said like, oh, you can go here, you can go there. For example, one nice hike I did was to Orem, so that's like a volcanic crater, and there was a graveyard on top of the crater, which was so cool, such a unique area. I also checked out a lot of the beaches, went to swim there, also met some people, like made my first friends while swimming there. And they would then, ask me out to the city to hang out and go drinking, and that was really nice. So finally things were looking up. So eventually after a month I finished editing all the Korea videos and I put them on YouTube. And then suddenly I had so much free time, and I started thinking like, okay, what else can I do to be productive here? So it's not just like another big vacation, right? Well, at that time I met Kim on Tinder, and we were becoming good friends, and she actually lived in the south of the island in Jungmun. So she asked me or suggested me to come to Jungmun. So my time in Guja in that house was gonna come to an end. So then I moved to Jungmun in the south. And there I stayed in an apartment in the city or in the village. So I made a lot of nice plans with Kim to go adventuring in the area, because the south of the island is more nature compared to the north. The north is more cities and bigger villages and touristic places, but the south is more a natural area. So, and she also loves hiking and, exploring beaches and walking the trails. So we had a lot of plans to go exploring around the area, and she was going to show me around. But by the time I arrived in Jungmun, she actually fell sick, like really bad. She thought for a while it might be COVID, but it turned out it wasn't. So when I arrived in Jungmun, actually she wasn't available at all. Well, because she lived close, we met a few times on days that she felt better. And that was nice. We went to dinner once. But other than that, I was pretty much on my own again in Jungmun. So I had to start thinking again, like, okay, what can I do to enjoy my time here, So at the time, I also found out that there's a little short film cinema on Jeju in Ewol. And I contacted them on Instagram and I sent them my graduation movie, and they really liked it, and they programmed it the next month So the next month they included it in their program, and it aired or it screened like 3 or 4 days a week for 4 weeks. So that's a lot of screenings. It's like 16 screenings, so that's really nice. And the first screening I visited, and I thanked them so much for the opportunity to show my movie. And like in a very short time, we actually became really close friends, me and the staff of the Short Wrong Cinema. And because I liked it there so much, I decided to also make a little promotional video for them. And now I still go there every month to watch the new program. So I'll spend a day there, you know, watching the whole program for an afternoon. It's so good. And they're a really nice cinema. Like, they are only one room with maximum 5 people capacity, I think. But it's so cozy. It's like perfect to go with your friends or with a date, you know. It's such a good cinema. And the program is also really well curated. Like, there's never a bad movie. They always have very unique short films with, you know, unique styles or very innovative ideas. I was actually their first non-Korean short film that they screened, because they only screen Korean short films. But after that, I helped them find out more international short films, and now they start screening international short films as well. Because the south of the island is such a natural area, I took my car and I started exploring again. And I started checking out all the beaches in the area. Like in Jungmun, the Segdal beach is so good. And also the Hwanguji pools are so beautiful. They're like those natural seawater pools, you know. It's perfect on a hot day to just go there and relax and cool down. So perfect. And then also on Jeju Island is Hallasan, which is the tallest mountain in South Korea. And it's a challenge almost 1,000 people take every day. There's 2 trails, and I decided to go with the main trail. And it was, you know, like, I thought at that time I wasn't feeling so good because I was starting to feel a bit isolated on this island, you know, because it can get quite lonely, especially if you're a foreigner, because as I said before, it's a very, you know, everything is very spread out, so it's hard to meet people. I was starting to feel a bit isolated, so I thought, like, okay, maybe a challenge will be good for me. So I thought, okay, let's hike Hallasan. I wasn't prepared at all. I didn't do any training, or I didn't have any proper gear, let alone shoes. So I took the main trail. I started at 5 in the morning and I arrived somewhere at 12 noon. And it was so tough. I was so dead. I didn't bring enough water. I didn't bring the proper shoes. So by the time I got to the peak, I mean, the view was absolutely stunning. Like, you could see the whole island from there. It was a perfectly clear day, and you just had a 360-degree view of the island. It was the best thing ever. But I didn't prepare at all, and I was so tired and so broken. And I really didn't know how I was gonna go back down. But then I met an Israeli guy, and he was also just like totally done. I had some candies in my backpack, and I shared some candies with him, and then we just made our way down. You know, talking made it a lot easier, but most of it was in silence actually, because we were both so dead. But at the end, I felt so satisfied that I did it, that I challenged myself to do it, and that's why I'm here in Korea, to challenge myself, to try new things, to live alone in a foreign country, to learn a new language, to hike these beautiful places, to reinvent myself. Because in Belgium I was starting to feel like I was losing myself, like I did everything I thought I could do there, and yeah, I thought going to Korea would be a good opportunity to think about myself and think about what I want and get to know myself again. Hiking Hallasan was one of those moments that things started clicking. So because I was exploring and adventuring again, I also started shooting more videos again. And I often would go to Starbucks to edit my videos because I like editing more in a cafe than editing at home. And there, one time, one of the staff, a girl, she came up to me while I was working, and she suddenly handed me a note. And I was so surprised, like, why? And I opened the note and it said, "I'm going to quit my job. Can you give me some courage?" And I was so surprised, like, what? What do you want from me? What is the situation? So I asked her, like, are you really gonna quit your job? And she said, yeah, my boss is gonna be here in 10 minutes and I'm gonna quit. But I'm scared. Like, can you give me some confidence? So I told her my story. Like, I wanted something better for myself. And I thought the situation I was in back at home, I was so miserable and unhappy. So I thought, like, the only way I can escape that is to make a change, right? So I told her, like, look at me now. I'm in such a beautiful place, challenging myself, enjoying myself, adventuring. So you can do that too. If you quit now, you have all the opportunities to, or all the chances to find something new and do something new and get out of that situation. So she thanked me, and then she went to her boss and quit her job. And I went to order a new drink and asked her, like, hey, are you doing okay? She said, yeah, I quit, but I cried in the bathroom. And then she wrote down her phone number on the receipt and handed it to me, and afterwards we were in contact a little bit. Like, I was checking up, like, hey, how are you doing after quitting your job? So funny. And so at the end of my time in Jungmun, I went on a Tinder date with Minkyu. We just met as friends, and she was really cool and fun to hang around with, but I didn't think there was gonna be anything more to it. But eventually, sometime later, we started dating. And then my time in Jungmun was coming to an end because my family was gonna come visit me in Korea. My dad and my brother would arrive in Seoul on the 1st of July, and I was so looking forward to that because I was so sick and tired of being isolated on the island. So I felt really excited to show my family what I've been experiencing here in Korea, to share this beautiful country with them. So they arrived on the 1st of July, and then we stayed in Seoul for a bit. Like, I showed them all the popular areas, like the palace, the markets, you know, the cafes. And then we moved on from Seoul to Busan. There we stayed near the coast. We had so much good seafood. We did a nice cooking class. We went to the beaches, went shopping in the city. It was really fun being with them there. And then the last part of the family trip, because there's the 3 main Buddhist temples in Korea, and my goal is to visit all 3 of them, and I already went to Haeinsa. So I wanted to not only visit the cities with them, but also take them a little bit into the countryside. So we went to Ulsan, and there we saw Tongdosa, which is the largest Buddhist temple in South Korea. And there we also stayed in a Hanok village, owned by a young girl. And it was just so perfect to end the trip, like, just show them the beauty of the nature in Korea, and then relax in the Hanok, which is also such a unique experience because it's not like staying in a hotel or in a house, it's a traditional Korean house. It's so beautiful. And there, by accident, I didn't know actually, but there was also the Boksundoga Makgeolli brewery, and because I love makgeolli, I wanted to share this with my brother. So yeah, we drank makgeolli together in the Hanok. It's such a beautiful moment. It's a very precious memory I'll remember forever. And we're only gonna stay for a little less than 2 weeks, so the trip went by so fast. And then we went back to Seoul and we had to say goodbye. And I tried to stay strong, but I felt so sad to see them go because I knew that I was gonna go back to some kind of isolation, right? I was really glad to show them what I've been doing here, to share it with them in a more personal way, because sharing the videos is really nice, and it's my way of sharing what I see and feel in this country, but it's not the same as sharing it with someone who's right beside you, right? Who you can talk to and enjoy the moment together. It's not the same. So, but I was really glad they took this opportunity and this chance to come and visit me here and adventure together. So back in Seoul, I met Minkyu again, who I went on a date with in Jungmun. Back then she was on a vacation in Jeju, but she actually lives in Seoul. And she's really cool, and I really liked her, being with her. And we went to dinner a few times, went to karaoke, went drinking a few times, and then we started dating. And that was really nice. I was really happy about that. I really enjoyed her company, but sometime later we would break up because it wasn't working. But at that time, after I said goodbye to her family, I knew I wanted to go back to Jeju because I just don't like being in Seoul that much. It's too busy, too much going on, and I really like spending time in the nature. It's very healing for me. So I went to Jeju again, but Minkyu decided to follow me. We met some of her friends and hung out together, and then she stayed with me for a week until she had to go back to Seoul for her work. And then I stayed in Jeju a little bit longer, adventuring on my own. But it didn't feel the same after she left. I felt like I was facing this isolation again on this island. So I decided to go back to Seoul to be closer to her and spend time with her. So I would stay in Seoul, but as I described before, those issues I have with Seoul didn't disappear. Like, it's so busy, it's so crazy there. I feel such a small human in such a big city, right? Like, you don't matter there. Especially as a foreigner, you get so lost in that big crazy city so easily. And I mean, even my apartment was such a tiny freaking apartment. Like, I could touch, both walls with my hands if I stretched my arms. And then, yeah, but it was okay. We could hang out and date, and at least there I wasn't lonely, But adventuring in Seoul was a lot harder for me because I really like to be in the nature and, do the hiking and walking in the forests and, go to the beach and everything. I like that so much. But then I took an opportunity to, make new friends in Seoul as well, because it's a big city and you're a lot closer and there's a lot more opportunities to meet people. So there I met Yesong, who's actually a mutual friend of one of my high school friends. That's how we got in contact, and we met up and she started inviting me to a lot of cool things. So at the end of July, around that time that I spent a month in Seoul, my visa was about to expire, so I had to go visa hopping, which means like you go to another country nearby and you go back and then your visa is renewed. So together with Minkyu, because she wanted to come with me, we decided on Malaysia. So we went on a week trip to Malaysia together. And there we had a really good time. It was such a good moment to be away from Korea for a little bit and be in a new country again, and refresh my sense for adventuring. So in Malaysia, we went to Kota Kinabalu, which is like a part of Malaysia on an island that's also shared with Indonesia. And there, we had so much good food. We went island hopping. We did a lot of fun things together. But at the same time there, I started feeling like she's fun to be with, but she's not the right girl for me. So after we came back from Malaysia, I broke up with her, which wasn't an easy decision. But I just knew I had to do it because I wasn't feeling happy. And so some people would call it crazy, but at that time I still didn't have any good friends in Korea, like maybe one or two. So I knew I was headed for some kind of isolation again, but I just had to do it, so it's fine. And then actually I became better friends with Yeson. Like we hung out a lot more. I met some of her friends. She invited me to nice parties where I met a lot of people again. Also people who are artists like me, you know, other filmmakers, musicians, and just in one night I met so many like cool people. It was, I felt so re-energized, you know. And even with some of them I'm still in contact now after like a few weeks later. But that was still in Seoul, and I knew that I didn't want to stay in Seoul anymore. So I went back to Jeju again. And this time I stayed in Seogwipo-si, in the south. So that's like, you have Jeju City in the north, and then you have Seogwipo-si in the south, which is the other big city. And I came here with the idea of I should leave all the things that I've experienced now behind me and refocus myself on enjoying being here in the country. Like, what do I want to do here? Because the initial reason I came was with some work opportunities, right? But those disappeared. So I had to think about, how am I gonna live a life here? So I started, you know, I made a LinkedIn profile, a Job Korea profile. I made you know, like a lot of job searching apps in Korea, a profile, and I started looking for work. And at the same time reconnecting with other filmmakers I met on the island and with the Short Run Cinema, and I was motivated to, you know, put myself out there again as a filmmaker and as an artist to, you know, get the ball rolling here in Korea again. Finding work in Korea was not that, I mean, it's not that easy because I don't really speak the language. I mean, now after half a year I know some of the language, which is fine. It's enough to go around, but it's not enough to work. So I also got more serious about studying the Korean language. So, you know, I bought some books, and now every day I go to cafe and study like an hour or two to pick up the language. And I try with the Korean people I know to speak as much Korean as I can, but it's still quite difficult. I can just only say like the basic things, you know. But my motivation to make new videos was kind of gone. I found it very difficult to go out and adventuring again. Also, I didn't have a car anymore, so that was really difficult. And I was also starting to feel really homesick. Because, I mean, now I've been spending half a year in Korea without close friends, you know, and I will call my home friends from time to time. We will, you know, get together on Discord and call and talk about our life, and I will call my parents every other day, you know, to update them on whatever is going on. Or when I feel down or homesick, I'll call my mom, and I mean, I love my mom, she's amazing. She'll, you know, talk some confidence into me. But just the last few weeks, it's been very homesick. And I'm about to go back to Belgium next week because my childhood friend is getting married, and I just have to be there to attend the wedding, of course. And then after the wedding, my plan is to go back to Korea for a second half year. And so now in my last week in Jeju, South Korea, in Seogwipo-si, I was in a cafe studying, and there was a girl sitting next to me, a Korean girl, and she started calling friends on the phone, and I noticed that she was speaking English, like British English, and I was so surprised that she's speaking perfect English. Because so many people in Korea, they don't speak very good English, and especially on Jeju Island, like nobody speaks English. So I was quite surprised, and she was telling her friends that she moved to Jeju also half a year ago, and she was feeling, you know, she was struggling with the same feelings as me, like isolation, not having many friends here, sometimes not knowing what to do or, you know, how to have a good time here. So after she hung up her call with her friends, I approached her and I said like, hey, do you want to be friends? Like, I heard some of your conversation, and I have so many of the same feelings and struggles as you do being here. And And then we got to talking the whole, like, for a few hours, and then she asked me to go to dinner with her, and there we talked some more about our experiences in Korea. And it turns out she studied and worked in the UK for a while in London, and now she came back to Korea and she's working in a museum here on the island. So, and she's really cool, and we are becoming good friends finally. I feel like I'm making a good friend here in Korea, that I can rely on. And yeah, we met a few more times after that, and now it's almost time for me to go back home. So what's next? So I'll go back to Belgium, and I'll take that time to reevaluate what I want to do here in Korea, because all the original plans I had coming here, they're gone, and I still don't speak the language very well, and finding work as an artist is really hard. But it's difficult to evaluate your situation where you're right in the middle of it. So I want to take this time back home to reflect on my time here in Korea from a third person perspective, right? And think about what I'm gonna do when I come back. Either way, the thing I promised to myself when I left Belgium to come to Korea is that I was gonna spend at least a year here, and I want to do that still. So that means there's another half year to go, and I'll figure out what I'm gonna do here. Even if it turns out I don't find anything, I'll still be satisfied that I challenged myself to spend a year in a foreign country. I think that's an experience I will not regret, and I'll take with me for the rest of my life, because even though I'm not working here right now, I've experienced so many unique adventures and challenges, and I've rediscovered so many things about myself that those are going to be valuable for the rest of my life, I think. There's also some opportunities coming my way, like at one of the parties I met other filmmakers, and they want to include me in their projects starting on October. So there's one project I'll be acting in, and then another project I'll be assisting in directing for some commercial campaigns. And we'll see whatever happens after that, whatever comes next from those opportunities. Anyway, as you can see, the sun is setting on my first half year here in Korea, and I think this video has been long enough. Thank you for listening to my story. And if this was the first video you saw, then please check out the other videos I made about Korea. There's a whole playlist about mainland Korea, and then a playlist about Jeju Island. And please look forward to more videos about Korea in my second half year. The videos I'm thinking about doing is not as much exploring anymore, but maybe more like tips and tricks about living in Korea, because in this half year I've also made a lot of mistakes living in this country, and I've learned a lot of things about how to navigate this country as a foreigner. And I want to share this knowledge and experience with people as well, who might have the same idea about coming to Korea as travelers or to live here. And now I'll say goodbye, because the one thing about Jeju Island is there's so many mosquitoes, and they're literally eating me alive. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.
I love Jeju, man. So beautiful.